Listen carefully, my friend, because what you are about to hear can change the entire direction of your life. There is a single prayer so powerful, so perfectly aligned with God's divine law, that when spoken with understanding, it unlocks healing, peace, success, and protection all at once. Most people never discover this prayer, not because it is hidden, but because they have never been taught how to pray correctly. This prayer does not ask God to do something in the future. It recognizes that God's power is working now. The moment this prayer enters your subconscious mind, limitations collapse, fear dissolves, and the divine intelligence of the universe begins rearranging your life in your favor. Right now, as you listen, a spiritual door is opening. If you accept this truth and apply it faithfully, you will look back and realize that this was the moment everything changed. Stay with me, because this one prayer, when understood and practiced, can unlock God's divine power and transform your life forever. God's power operates through the subconscious mind, and this truth alone explains why some prayers are answered with certainty while others seem to fail. The subconscious mind is the creative medium through which divine intelligence expresses itself in your life. It is not a separate power from God. It is the channel through which God's wisdom, harmony, and order flow into form. Whatever you consistently accept as true in your inner world is taken by the subconscious as a command, and it proceeds to express that belief as experience. Your subconscious mind does not reason, argue, or judge. It simply accepts the impressions given to it by your conscious thinking and emotional feeling. When you think fearfully, dwell on lack, or repeatedly imagine failure, you are not opposing God. You are unknowingly directing divine power in an unwanted way. God's power is always neutral, always obedient to law, and always responsive to the dominant ideas held within the subconscious. This is why understanding how the subconscious works is essential to effective prayer. True prayer is not an attempt to persuade God or to change divine will. It is the conscious act of impressing the subconscious mind with thoughts of truth, harmony, health, and abundance. When your conscious mind affirms a spiritual idea and accompanies it with a feeling of certainty, the subconscious accepts it as a fact. At that moment, divine intelligence begins to move through natural channels to bring that idea into expression. The process is automatic, effortless, and exact. Every great spiritual demonstration recorded throughout history followed this same law. The individual first accepted the truth inwardly, felt it to be real, and allowed the subconscious to carry out the pattern. Once the subconscious is impressed, doubt has no power, and opposing conditions gradually dissolve. This is why repetition alone is not enough. The feeling of reality is what activates divine power. As you learn to consciously plant thoughts of faith, peace, and divine order within your subconscious mind, you align yourself with God's eternal activity. You no longer struggle or force outcomes. You rest in the assurance that the law is working on your behalf. In this inner alignment, prayer becomes a living experience, not a ritual, and God's power flows naturally into every area of your life, producing results that are lasting, harmonious, and life-changing. Prayer works by alignment, not effort, and this understanding removes the strain, struggle, and emotional exhaustion that many people associate with prayer. Effort implies resistance, as though God must be convinced, persuaded, or moved by intensity or repetition. Alignment, however, means bringing your thoughts, beliefs, and feelings into harmony with divine law. When alignment is achieved, prayer becomes effortless, natural, and effective. God's power is constant, impartial, and already in operation. There is no moment when divine intelligence is absent or unwilling to act. The only factor that determines results is whether your inner state is in agreement with this truth. When your mind is filled with fear, doubt, or a sense of unworthiness, you are out of alignment, and the flow of good is restricted, not because God withholds, but because the channel is obstructed. Prayer, then, is the gentle act of clearing that channel. Many people believe that praying harder will bring faster results. In reality, tension is a sign of misalignment. The subconscious mind responds to calm conviction, not emotional force. When you relax, feel peace, and quietly accept the truth of what you desire as already established in divine law, you move into alignment. At that moment, the law begins to operate without resistance. Alignment also means accepting responsibility for your inner atmosphere. You cannot affirm peace while inwardly rehearsing conflict. You cannot claim abundance while secretly believing in lack. Effective prayer requires honesty with oneself and a willingness to release opposing beliefs. As you let go of mental arguments and conflicting emotions, you naturally align with the rhythm of divine intelligence. This is why stillness plays such an important role in true prayer. In stillness, the conscious mind ceases its frantic activity, and the deeper wisdom of the subconscious comes forward. In that quiet awareness, you sense unity with God rather than separation from Him. This sense of unity is alignment, and it is the foundation of all answered prayer. When prayer is understood as alignment, it no longer feels like a desperate act performed in times of crisis. It becomes a way of living, a continual adjustment of thought and feeling toward truth. In this state, effort disappears, faith becomes natural, and results unfold in perfect order. You are no longer trying to make something happen, you are allowing divine law to express itself through you, exactly as it was designed to do. Feeling is the language of divine law, and without feeling, words remain empty sounds with no creative power. Divine law does not respond to spoken affirmations alone, nor does it act upon wishful thinking. It responds to the emotional and mental atmosphere that accompanies a thought. What you feel to be true, even without evidence, is what the subconscious mind accepts and brings into form. This is why two people can repeat the same prayer and receive entirely different results. Feeling is the point at which thought becomes reality. A thought held without emotion remains weak and ineffective, but when it is charged with a feeling of certainty, peace, or expectancy, it becomes a living seed planted in the subconscious mind. Divine intelligence works through this seed according to immutable law. The subconscious does not analyze the truth of a feeling, it simply acts upon it, faithfully reproducing its nature in experience. Many people unknowingly cancel their prayers by feeling anxiety immediately after praying. They may say words of faith, yet inwardly feel doubt, fear, or impatience. These feelings override the spoken prayer and impress the subconscious with uncertainty. Divine law then responds accurately to the dominant feeling rather than the spoken desire. This is not punishment or judgment, it is law in perfect operation. The correct use of feeling in prayer is not emotional excitement or forced enthusiasm. It is the quiet, deep sense of inner acceptance, when you feel peace, gratitude, or relief. As though the answer has already been given, you are speaking the true language of divine law. This inner feeling signals to the subconscious that the prayer is complete. From that point onward, the law moves naturally and inevitably toward fulfillment. Cultivating the right feeling requires practice and awareness. You must learn to notice how you feel during and after prayer. If tension is present, gently release it. If doubt arises, replace it with a calm affirmation of truth. The goal is not to suppress emotion, but to guide it into harmony with what you are affirming. As you master the use of feeling, prayer becomes precise and powerful. You no longer wonder whether your prayer is heard, because the feeling of certainty is your confirmation. Divine law always answers in exact proportion to the feeling impressed upon the subconscious mind. When your feeling aligns with truth, the response is inevitable, orderly, and often beyond what you imagined possible. The present moment is where answers manifest, and understanding this frees the mind from the habit of postponing good into the future. Many people believe that prayer sets something in motion that will eventually arrive at an unknown time. But divine law operates only in the now. God is not a future possibility. God is a present reality. Whatever is to appear in your life must first be accepted as real in this moment, within your consciousness. When you pray and think of the answer as something that will come later, you unconsciously affirm its absence now. This creates a subtle contradiction in the mind, and the subconscious receives mixed instructions. Divine law responds to what is mentally accepted as true, not to what is hoped for at a later date. The moment you accept the fulfillment as already established in principle, you align yourself with the creative process. Living in the present moment does not mean denying the appearance of current conditions. It means refusing to give them creative authority. Conditions are effects of past beliefs, while the present moment is where new causes are planted. When you shift your attention away from what seems to be lacking and inwardly rest in the feeling of completion, you are working with the law at its source. Anxiety, impatience, and frustration are signs that the mind has drifted into the future. These emotions weaken prayer because they imply doubt. Faith, on the other hand, is always calm and present. It recognizes that the law has already accepted the impression, and therefore there is nothing to force or hurry. In this state of present awareness, prayer becomes an act of recognition rather than request. The subconscious mind responds only to what you accept now. It cannot act on future promises or delayed expectations. When you dwell mentally in the present, affirming truth as a living reality, the subconscious begins rearranging circumstances through natural and often unexpected channels. Time becomes irrelevant because the cause has already been established. This is why gratitude is such a powerful companion to prayer. Gratitude places the mind in the present moment by acknowledging fulfillment now, not later. It is a silent declaration that the answer exists in divine law and is already on its way into visible form. As you train yourself to pray from the present moment, fear diminishes and confidence grows. You stop measuring progress and start trusting the process. In this inner stillness, divine intelligence works with precision and ease, and what you have accepted inwardly unfolds outwardly in perfect order, without strain or delay. Faith impresses the subconscious with certainty, and this certainty is the activating force behind all answered prayer. Faith is not blind belief, nor is it an emotional surge that rises and falls with circumstances. It is a quiet inner knowing, a settled conviction that something is true regardless of appearances. When faith is present, the subconscious mind accepts the idea without resistance and proceeds to act upon it according to divine law. The subconscious mind responds to certainty in the same way it responds to any deeply accepted belief. If you are certain of failure, it will faithfully reproduce failure. If you are certain of success, health, or peace, it will work with equal loyalty to express those conditions. Faith, therefore, is not a moral quality, but a mental state. It is the degree of acceptance you give to an idea. The stronger the acceptance, the more quickly and completely the subconscious carries out the pattern. Doubt weakens prayer because it divides the mind. One part affirms, while another part denies. This inner conflict prevents a clear impression from being made. Faith resolves this conflict by removing the mental arguments and resting in the assumption that the law has already accepted the request. Once the mind reaches this state of certainty, effort becomes unnecessary. The work is finished inwardly, and the outer manifestation follows in its own time. Faith is cultivated through understanding. When you know how the law works, you trust it. Just as you trust the law of gravity without emotional strain, you can trust divine law when you understand its principles. Repeated success strengthens faith, and each answered prayer deepens your confidence in the process. Over time, faith becomes natural rather than forced. Persistence in faith does not mean repeating words endlessly. It means maintaining the same inner certainty and refusing to entertain contradictory thoughts. If doubt arises, it is gently dismissed and replaced with a calm affirmation of truth. This mental discipline protects the impression already made upon the subconscious mind. When faith has impressed the subconscious, the result is inevitable. Circumstances may appear unchanged for a time, but the law is already at work beneath the surface. Seeds grow in silence, and so do answered prayers. Faith allows you to remain at peace during this interval, knowing that the outcome is assured. In this certainty, prayer becomes simple and powerful. You no longer ask repeatedly, you know. And this knowing is the signal that releases divine intelligence into action, producing results that are stable, harmonious, and lasting. Gratitude seals the prayer with divine acceptance, completing the inner act that allows divine law to move freely into expression. Gratitude is not a polite response offered after a desire has been fulfilled. It is a spiritual attitude that acknowledges fulfillment at the level of consciousness. When you are grateful, you are declaring inwardly that the prayer has already been answered in principle, and this declaration brings the mind into perfect harmony with divine law. The subconscious mind responds powerfully to gratitude because gratitude implies certainty. You do not feel grateful for something you doubt. You feel grateful for what you accept as real. In this way, gratitude becomes one of the most effective ways to impress the subconscious mind with a sense of completion. It removes anxiety, silences mental argument, and closes the door to doubt. Once gratitude is established, the prayer no longer feels unfinished. Many people pray and then immediately begin wondering how or when the answer will appear. This questioning reopens the door to uncertainty. Gratitude prevents this by shifting attention away from conditions and placing it on the inner assurance of divine order. In a grateful state, the mind rests. This mental rest is essential because it allows the subconscious to carry out its function without interference from fear or impatience. Gratitude also changes your emotional atmosphere. It lifts the mind above lack, struggle, and limitation and places it in a receptive state. Divine intelligence flows most easily into a mind that is open and appreciative. This is why gratitude often brings unexpected blessings beyond the original prayer. The grateful mind is aligned with abundance, and abundance responds accordingly. Practicing gratitude in prayer does not require elaborate words. A simple, sincere feeling of thankfulness is enough. You may silently acknowledge that divine wisdom has already accepted your request and is working through perfect channels. This acknowledgement is the sealing act. It signals to the subconscious that no further effort is needed. As gratitude becomes a habit, your entire approach to life changes. You begin to expect good rather than struggle for it. Even before visible results appear, you feel supported, guided, and protected. This inner confidence attracts circumstances that confirm your belief. In this way, gratitude is not merely an emotion, it is a spiritual law in action. It completes the prayer, stabilizes faith, and allows divine power to operate without resistance. When gratitude seals your prayer, the outcome is no longer a question. It is a certainty unfolding in perfect order. As we come to the close of this message, remember this truth above all others. The power you seek is not distant, delayed, or reserved for a chosen few. It is within you now, operating through divine law with perfect intelligence. Prayer is not about struggle or persuasion. It is about understanding, alignment, and inner acceptance. When your thought, feeling, faith, and gratitude move together in harmony, the law responds unfailingly. You have learned that God's power works through the subconscious mind, that alignment, not effort, opens the way, that feeling gives life to every prayer, that the present moment is where answers are born, that faith impresses the mind with certainty, and that gratitude seals the work as complete. These are not separate ideas, but one continuous process. When practiced together, they transform prayer from a ritual into a living experience. From this moment forward, let prayer be simple and natural. Enter it calmly, feel the truth of what you accept, give thanks inwardly, and rest. Do not watch the clock or measure results. Divine law never fails, never forgets, and never delays without purpose. What you have impressed upon the subconscious must express itself in form. If doubt appears, return gently to understanding. If fear arises, replace it with gratitude. If impatience tempts you, remember that the seed grows silently before it appears. Your only work is to remain faithful to the inner acceptance of truth. Know this with certainty. The moment you pray correctly, the answer is already established in divine order. What follows is simply the unfolding. Walk forward in peace, confidence, and quiet expectation, for God's divine power is working in you, through you, and for you, now and always.